Excited to be back, you guys. We're going to be talking about commissions today, which is super exciting. Everyone's favorite topic. But Mike, introduce us. Tell us a little bit about who you are, your background, your family.
So my name is Mike Cicluna. I am the CEO of Stakt Commissions. I'm a fractional CFO by trade, so I've worked in the door-to-door industries, seen lots of different industries, seen what people do well, what they don't do well, seen what makes companies succeed and also makes companies fail. Specifically, I started Stakt because I saw the problem with commissions and that there was a huge gap in the industry, specifically when it came to commissions. And I'd say three main issues when it comes to commissions and the transparency that comes from them. Number one is trust, and I think this is the biggest one. When a sales rep doesn't know for sure if their commissions are accurate, then they lose trust in you. And then they start questioning every time you send them a paycheck. They're like, is this right? Like, they'll start sending I mean, I know you guys have all experienced this, whether you're a sales rep or you have a team, but you get that like sinking feeling in your gut where you're like, I feel like I'm being ripped off. And you start messaging and you're like, what the heck is going on? Now, as a business owner or the one who's running commissions, when you get those messages from very upset sales reps, and this is point number two, and they say, it's all wrong, I'm so frustrated, why are you trying to undercut me? Now you have to go and spend typically hours trying to pull together all the data that you possibly can and make sure that you are 100% certain that the numbers that you have are accurate, which often you find issues. You actually do find that maybe you've overpaid them or you've underpaid them or something's gone wrong, and then you have to try and explain that to them. And all that does is it erodes trust moving down the line and into the future. So, first of all, you have the reps losing trust in you. Second is that you then start to distrust your systems. And the third is that you spend an incredible amount of time trying to prove to your sales reps and to if you're the one running commissions, but you're not the owner, to someone else, you spend an incredible amount of time trying to prove that it's right. And generally you do have errors. And because of that, you're losing money because you're spending so much time doing this, but also because of the errors that are inevitably going to be a part of that system.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's so true. And something Mike and I were talking about just this last week was that it's typically, they're not looking at it forward saying like, I should be being paid on these jobs coming up. They're thinking of it in the past tense behind them. And so, they are going to wait till they're doing their taxes or at the end of payday or whenever, and they're going to think, I think I was gypped. I wasn't paid on all these bad things, or my commission was off. They've been paying me less percentage. And so then it does take all of that back work that they have to go, sit down, talk about it, rehash it. And then you typically will find, as we're combing through, that's inevitable. Human error is a part of that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I've really done my best in all ways to try and make sure the accuracy is at the forefront of everything that I did as a CFO. And we did a really good job. We built some really cool spreadsheets that were calculating commissions and all that. Even when we did have the numbers 100% correct, it was very, very hard to show that. Now, it was hard to show that to an accountant, but sales reps aren't accountants. So I had to then figure out a way to show that my numbers were right to someone that wasn't an accountant in a way that would ease their concerns.
Right.
And so even without errors, it's just a very, very painful process.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And I think what we're looking at is like, what is the real cost to not figuring out how you're doing your commissions and doing it the right way, and also making that transparent? Like, the cost of us not figuring that out is so much greater than if we were just to take a look into a program like Stakt or something. It's all about finding the right tools, you guys. I'm at RepCard, and I'm never going to send somebody out on the doors without a canvassing tool, without an app that gives them insight to homeowner data, with neighborhoods, area management, leaderboards where I can track their numbers. Same thing for commissions. We should never go into something without having a tool that's really going to optimize our process and make sure that we're sharing the transparency with our reps for sure. And Mike, how can this help with retention with these top reps being transparent about our commissions?
When you hire a rep and you're telling them that you're going to pay them, you get them all excited. You think about the whole recruiting process, right? You tell them, if you come sell with us, there's a ton of other sales organizations out there, but we're the best because we're going to pay you this much. We have all these incentives. We're going to treat you really well. And then after a month or two of working with you, if they feel like you're not being completely transparent and honest with the way that they're getting paid, then that's going to erode that trust really fast. And so you're going to have sales reps that are upset thinking that they're not getting paid what they should, or not in a timely manner like they think they should. Now, what you wouldn't understand as a sales rep, but what an accountant really understands, is that there is a cost associated with every turnover that you have of anyone in your company. So even if I hire someone and they never make a single sale and I never pay them any commissions, they still cost me, because it's the advertising, getting the marketing out there to say, come join my team. It's the training, the resources that get put into that. So it's actually a very costly thing to have high rep turnover. It is something that happens because sales reps they move around a lot more than any other type of employee. But you can reduce that significantly if you can help them to feel comfortable and confident that they're getting paid what they know they should. But even better than that, you don't just want to stop your reps from being upset with you. You actually want them to be excited and motivated. And I think that's one of the coolest things about commissions. Commissions are a driving force. And the way that you set up commissions, or the way you should set up commissions, it's not just to make sure that people are getting paid, it's to incentivize certain behaviors. So, one of my favorite commission plans that I've seen built out is bonuses that accrue over time and they get bigger the longer you stay. The
Mhm.
reason why that's really beneficial is if you come on board with me and after 3 months you're gone, I might pay you only 40% of what I would have paid you if you had stayed 2 years. What that does for me is it reduces the amount of cost that I'm putting into that turnover. But what it does for you is every time you log into Stakt, you'll be able to see that buildup of overrides or bonuses that you're going to achieve down the line. And so when your mate comes to you and says, hey, I'm working at this other company, they're really cool and they have all these cool incentives, you're going to open up your Stakt app and you're going to be like, well, if I leave, I'm going to lose thousands and thousands of dollars that I've been accruing over time. So setting things up correctly and then having a really good way to show that to the sales reps can actually help sales reps be excited about coming to work, about pushing harder, about getting sales, about getting good sales as well. You can incentivize the type of customers that you want. You can incentivize making sure that those customers stick around. There's all sorts of ways that you can do that. And we've seen that and we've advised different companies on how to do that. So it does a lot for keeping that rep retention.
Yeah, no, I love that. You went exactly where I wanted to go next, was just really incentivizing and bonusing where we want to see the behavior. And commissions is exactly that. So not only with retention, that's going to help with the trust. As long as your culture is there, what they really care about is going to be your culture and also the trust that they have with you. And so I love that we're just incentivizing that. I'll say this, it again, just like the trust is so important and we have to visibly see it. And how have you seen that when it's transparent and reps are being able to see what their commissions are, how they are sticking around? Maybe give us an example of a company and then talk about some of the integrations into their CRMs, or how you're utilizing that, Mike.
Yeah, so there's two levels to this. If you're a sales rep and you're going out knocking on a door making a sale, um, you want to know that that sale is in your pipeline and building towards your overall commission that you're going to be making pretty quickly. And before Stacked, the majority of companies that we have would talk about the kind of messages that they get from their sales reps. And one of them that's pretty common, especially in high ticket sales or higher ticket sales, when am I going to see this job show up on my commissions? And often it's, well, you got to wait until we get to this stage or this status, or something needs to happen before it shows up. With Stacked and the way that we do the integrations, if we've integrated into your CRM, then as soon as you make that sale and it's populated in your CRM, it automatically goes into Stacked. So you'll be able to pull up your mobile app 2 minutes after you've left that customer's house and see the potential commission show up. That's really cool. It's exciting to see, like, okay, my pipeline was 30,000. I just made a huge sale and now it's gone up to 37,000 or something like that. That's going to get you really excited. And again, that really helps with the sales rep retention over time. Now, as far as we've tried really hard to study and look at what that sales rep retention looks like, there are two main things that we've seen between our customers and getting feedback from them. Number one is that the amount of questions that sales reps are sending back to the admins or whoever's running the commission, it decreases significantly. One of our customers actually tracked it. They went back and looked at how many of their reps were emailing and how often, and they said that it was about 75% decrease in the amount of questions they were getting. Now that's great for the admin, but also for the sales rep, they're obviously not as frustrated. So that was really good. That same company also looked at their sales rep retention, and they said that they, in one summer, were typically losing about 50 to 60% of their sales reps. The last summer that they just did, so the one just finishing up now, they only lost 20%. Now, that to them, they were like, the majority of that 20% was because they were new and sales is not for them. And so we're really happy that we're keeping our best reps.
No, I love that so much. And talk about motivating. You nailed it on the head. Going door to door and being able to see your potential commission hit right then and there. I only want to hit another door. I want to knock
Yeah.
another door and get another commission and keep seeing that come in, right? So that's even more powerful. We train on that at RepCard with our leaderboards and incentive programs and our competitions that we're running. You've really got to figure out what is motivating, but we're all motivated by one thing. We do have to work to live, and so everyone's motivated by money, and so I love that so much. You talked about different CRMs, Mike. Can you dive a little bit into what that integration looks like with your CRM and maybe about the process of how long it takes to get those integrations up and rolling?
Yeah, so it depends on the CRM. We've done a lot of different integrations. Some of the CRMs that are more customizable, like ClickUp or Monday.com, they have really good integrations, but that can take a little bit longer depending on how you've set it up because you can set it up in whatever way you want, right? They're very customizable. There are others that it's usually like a CRM that is built specifically for an industry. Those integrations, once we've set up one with a customer, it's really easy to just go and set it up with everyone else. Enterflow is a really good example. We have a great integration with Enterflow. We've got tons of customers that use Enterflow, and so when we get a new customer, it's typically less than a week to get that set up. The longest I would say we've had an integration take is about 2.5 weeks. And really, it's just iterating. We connect, we test the data. Did we get the right data? And then we make changes until we know that we're getting the correct data.
Yeah, no, 100%. I love that. Tell us about the different industries that you're currently working with right now at Stakt.
So the first industry that we hit really hard was solar. Back in I think 2022 when we started, that was where we just thought like I don't know how these guys are managing their commissions because it's just so complex. I don't know why solar got more complex than everyone else really fast, but they did. And so we hit that one really hard, and then we started to expand out. It was very easy to go into roofing. That was obviously a really close industry. We went into windows and siding. Fiber's been one that's been picking up a lot recently. Fiber is one of the messiest industries I've seen. For some reason, everyone is running their entire companies off Excel, and so we're really trying to help these guys to clean things up and make it a lot easier to use. So fiber's been a really cool one to see the changes that we've been able to make in that industry. Pest control is obviously another really big one. There's the pest control is a very cyclical type of industry. You have a huge rep turnover year over year. And because of that, there's constantly new comp plans, new teams, people coming in and out. And so being able to manage that in a way that you don't overwrite what you had previously has been key. Basically, every other system, when you change an org chart, the old org chart is gone. We've made sure that we've set it up so that whenever you make a change to an org chart, you can go back and look at, well, what did my org chart look like last month or the month before that or something like that. So anyway, those are the major industries that we're in. We do have a few others like mortgage brokers and insurance and things like that that we've touched on a little bit, but mostly in the door-to-door space. Anyone in the door-to-door space we can tackle.
Yeah, no, I love that. I want to go back for a second. You mentioned admin, and that's something that I see all the time where it's consuming so much time and reps coming to the admin saying, why am I get paid on this? And why did I not get paid on this? And where's my commission here? And what am I missing here? So I love that. It really does take away so much of the headache from our admins and also to our sales reps. So that's really excellent. And just changing the experience for them and being paid out on time. Mike, I bet you have seen it all, from people being paid out on time to people being paid months, years later, out on commissions of something that they were owed on that they didn't get paid out on. Is that right?
Yeah, it's actually a really painful thing to see for a company that is not expecting it. So you do your cash flow analysis, you look at how much cash you've got available to do different operations, and you spend accordingly, especially if you get the majority of your sales from marketing and advertising, you kind of look at the cash available to put into that marketing and advertising. If you then realize that you've missed a zero somewhere, or you have forgot to put someone on a deal and you have to pay out those commissions, you can't just not pay the person. But now that puts a huge strain, or it potentially can put a huge strain on the company and their growth. So that's something that I've seen happen. When I was running my accounting firm, it was not uncommon for us to pick up a new client, clean up their books, clean up their commissions. And as we cleaned it up, we're like, hey, I'm really sorry, but like, here are all the errors you've got. Now, the upside of that is when you clean up the entire company, you often find ones that are up and ones that are down. And so it kind of evens out a little bit. But it's a lot harder to get money back from someone when you've overpaid them than it is to pay out when you've underpaid them. So it's a huge risk that you take to have a system that is very manual. I'm the first to tell you that I think that Excel is probably the most valuable tool as far as business, and it will continue to be so in my view forever. It's just so customizable and it does so much, but it should not be used for any core process, especially as a company grows. So I really think that getting a system that's repeatable and automated. Obviously, commissions is a huge piece of that, but I mean, you wouldn't run your payroll out of Excel as a large company because it's a very complex thing, and that's not even as complex as commissions.
Yes, yes. No, you nailed it on the head. And we talk about automations. It just takes out so much of the human error aspect and really just automating that. So I love that. We've got a question in the chat. They said, do you integrate with Service Titan?
So we don't have any of our customers yet that have an integration built with Service Titan, but I do know that they have an open API. Anyone that has an open API will build the integration with them.
That's awesome. Good to know. Perfect. Okay, cool. What is the best way to align commission structures with the company's growth goals, Mike?
This is my favorite question. Um, so this goes back to what I mentioned previously, that all of your commissions should be geared towards driving certain activities. So I'll give you a few examples. One of my favorite overrides that I've seen built out is a recruiter override. Now, a lot of people do recruiting overrides in different ways, but I'm going to be very bold in this and say this is the best way to do it. So I want you all to listen up. If you have someone come and recruit another person, that person is not necessarily going to stay on that recruiter's team. In fact, I might not even be a manager and I could go recruit one of my friends, right? Now, you want to incentivize me to do that, even if I'm not a manager, because if I'm not a manager, it's likely that I have friends that are not in the door-to-door space because I'm new, right? I'm the most likely person to recruit someone. You just need to incentivize me. So what I've seen too often, which I don't think is the best way to do it, is the recruiter gets an override on that person forever. That's what a manager should get, because the manager is cultivating that person. They're making sure that they're getting trained, they're answering their questions, they're overseeing them. That's why they get that override.
Right.
However, me as a recruiter, I should be incentivized only if that sales rep actually does something, if they actually make sales. So the other one that I've seen that I don't think is good is I get a bonus just by recruiting them. Well, what if I recruit my friend and they never make a sale? Well, you just lost money by giving me a bonus. So my favorite one is I get a bonus on a certain number of deals that they sell. So for example, I will get $100 per deal for the first 5 deals, and then it's done. It's really easy to set up. It's really easy to incentivize me. Now, it incentivizes me to go get that guy, but it also incentivizes me to make sure that I'm not going to hire someone that's not going to sell anything, because
Right.
I want to get that bonus, whether it's $500 or 10 cents a watt, or however you want to build that. So there's overrides like that that are really simple. They incentivize getting new reps into your system. The next one is to incentivize certain markets. So the type of deals that you're getting from, and when I say market, I mean lead sources. You
Oh,
know
okay.
that there are certain lead sources that cost more than others. If you don't, then talk to your accountant. Your accountant should should be able to get that for you. Um, but if you're tracking these numbers, then you'll be able to tell that, okay, well, if I send door knockers out, then I average X amount per deal. My meta ads are X amount per deal. If I go to trade shows, then it's X amount per deal. Those are the kind of things that you should know. If you know that, then you want to incentivize your reps to get the sales on the deals that are bringing in the most revenue. That's really where you want to push it. Your setters are the ones that are going to really drive that because the closers, they want to close no matter what. But your setters, you want them to focus on the areas that are going to bring in the most revenue.
Right.
And then the last one that I want to mention is long-term bonus structures. Now, this can be done on an individual level or on a team level. And I think that there's two ways to do this really well. Number one is the recurring or resetting bonuses. So that's to say you'll get a bonus if you're able to sell X amount of deals within a time period, whether that be a month or a quarter or 6 months or a year. I like the ones that are a little bit longer because there's more of a ramp period. So if you say a quarter or 6 months, it pushes them for longer. If you just do a month, I do think there's value in that, but I've seen that that's where you actually have higher rep turnover. If you have those longer periods, you actually reduce that rep turnover. And then the other one is long-term bonuses that do not reset. So
Right.
basically, you say the longer you stay with us, the more deals you sell, the higher your commission is per deal. So after you've sold your first 100 deals, then your commission rate increases by X amount. And then once
Yeah.
you get to 150 deals, it increases again. Again, what this does is that the longer someone stays with you, the more incentivized they are to stay because their commission, they built up that commission over time. And and actually, I'll tell you one of the things that I have seen sales companies do a lot that I would highly recommend not doing and try and stay away from this is when if you're a sales organization and you have a sales guy come to you, they're going to try to sell you on how good of a salesperson they are. And
Hmm.
it's incredible to me how many people get sold by the salespeople they're trying to hire. This salesman comes in and says, "I'm the best. I'm just going to crush it." And so they give them a really awesome comp plan, not their like rookie plan or not the, you've been in the industry, but
Not
you're
their
still
normal
starting.
plan you've seen.
Not the normal plan. They give them this really awesome plan. And I would say that at least 50% of the time, that salesman is not as good as what they say they are. You need to give people a way to say, look, you can crush it in our company. And if you stick with us and if you are able to sell and hit these targets and everything, then you'll be making tons of money. But just because you came over from XYZ company and you said that you crushed it over there, that's okay. You can, if you're that good, then you'll just hit those targets faster. And I'd love to see you do it. And I'll build out some bonus structures. If someone is coming in asking for a higher commission rate, give them a way to prove it before they get that higher commission rate. That's what's going to help you the best because every time I've seen that happen, it's ended up costing the company more than they thought that sales rep was worth, and then you just have a bit of enmity between you and them at the end of the day.
Yeah, causes animosity for sure.
Yep.
Another one that I've seen is that I also like it commission structure done off of the gross margin. So if you
Yeah.
sell the job at X amount, then your commission is a little bit higher, and if it's at 60%, it's a little bit higher. So just going
Yeah.
up. And I love that too. So we have to incentivize the right behavior. I think you nailed that on the head for sure.
There's actually one that I've seen which I thought was actually very unique to this company. They had a problem with sales reps overcharging and then having customers finding out that they'd charged too much and customers getting upset and leaving bad reviews. So they actually put a cap. They said, if you sell over this rate, then we're actually going to deduct from your sales. And so it was actually really cool because the sales reps were trying to just get as much as they possibly could. They'd go to sell to Granny who had no idea what was going on and just thought they were such a nice guy at the door and whatever, and they'd pay way too much. And then the son or daughter would come in and be like, "You got ripped off," and it was giving a bad reputation to the company. So
Yeah,
you
which
can
is terrible.
incentivize anything.
Yeah, and I think you can have that, red line to that and have a gross margin, but then
Mhm.
you can also have a ceiling of like you can sell between this and the more gross margin, the higher your commission, but it caps off
Yeah.
here. So
Yep.
having that ceiling is perfect. Mike, we talked about like a little bit of overrides and to help with long-term retention. How complex have you seen it that it's really actually detrimental or too confusing on the commission side of things where, you've got a team lead that gets an override off of their reps and then a general off of theirs and off of the
Yeah.
team lead, tell us about that and how that can be too complex or cause confusion in your commissions.
Yeah, so I would say that the best structure, especially when you're talking about team structures and team overrides, is what we call a commission difference. And there's lots of different names for this, but basically the way it works is I have my commission rate, and then if I hire someone underneath me, then I get the difference between my commission rate and their commission rate. It's very simple. I can have lots of people underneath me with all different commission rates, and I get the difference based on whoever they are. That's very simple.
Mhm.
Where it gets super complex is um, I get 10 cents per unit on this guy, and then I get a commission difference on this guy, and then I get a percentage of revenue on this guy. And also, if three of the guys on my team make a sale, then Johnny over here gets half of my commission, whatever that is. But if there's these other people don't like if they're on the deal, then it's different. Like the problem with overcomplicating commissions is no matter how transparent you try to make the reports, your reps will get confused because you've overcomplicated it anyway. And I get it's you're trying to build the perfect commission structure to incentivize people to go sell. But there comes a point where they have absolutely no idea what's going on. Every deal they sell, they're like, I don't know what I'm going to get. I'm just selling a deal. And if it's to that point where the sales reps and don't understand what they're going to get, that's really bad. If it's to the point where the managers don't understand what they're going to get, that's terrible. Because
Right.
the managers, they're in the industry, they've been in the industry for longer, they typically understand more of the nuances of the industry. So they, I would say, generally understand more than what your average sales rep or setter will be understanding. But yeah, if they don't understand what's going on, that's where you run into issues. So the general rule of thumb is uh, you your standard comp plan should be no more than 3 steps. So when I say 3 steps, like if you have a red line and a percentage, so you get everything above your, $2.50 red line, but the company keeps 20%. That's 2 steps. That already is complex enough. If you add another step and say, but if you get it from this lead source, we're going to deduct $150, that's okay, but you're kind of leaning on the edge of like you might confuse people a little too much. So that's what I would say for setters and closers. As far as your managers, typically I would recommend that you try and keep a pretty standard process across the entire organization. Now, there's always going to be exceptions. I've accepted that. Every time we onboard someone, they say this is always the rule. I know there's going to be an exception, and that's okay. What you don't want is for every single person to be an exception. You don't want to have a different rule for every single time you sell. You have to change it every week. No software system or process is going to fix that. You need to keep it very uniform across the organization. And I will say that when you look at larger organizations, organizations with 2,000 or more sales reps, they're only able to get there because they have uniform systems. And so that's how you've got to build if you really want to scale.
Yeah, having a structure for sure and sticking with it, consistency. I
Yeah.
love that so much. Okay, you guys, I want to open up to some questions in the chat. So while we continue, if you've got questions, throw them in the chat here for Mike or myself. Mike, if people want to find out more about Stacked, where should they go? Where do they begin? What does that look like for them?
Yeah, so you can go to our website. I'll actually put it in the chat here as well. It's stakt.io, and you can actually book a demo with any one of our reps there. We have a short demo on the site as well, so you can kind of see what it looks like. I think it's a little bit old, so our software has more. There's a lot more in our software now than what you have on that demo, but it just gives you a general overview of what's possible. So yeah, if you want to reach out, definitely go there. If you want to reach me directly, my email is mike@stakt.io. I obviously would love to give you a demo, but even if you just want to talk through what your commissions look like and you'd like to, get some advice on how you could maybe improve your commission process, I'd be happy to get on a call with you and talk through that.
Amazing. I love that so much. Yeah, well, I don't think we have anything else if there's no questions from the chat, you guys, but just a reminder that all of these webinars we are putting up in the training library on RepCard. So if you guys have got questions or you want to replay this back or you've missed anything, please go to the training library and check out our past webinars and go back and replay this with Mike. So Mike, we appreciate you and excited for the things that this is going to bring to the industry, and we look forward to working with you.
Yeah, thank you. I think we did get one question from Karina.
Oh, yes, I see it here. Yeah, please jump to it.
So typically we will integrate with a CRM. However, we are working on a direct integration with RepCard. The way that that is going to be most beneficial is we're trying to build an integration so that your reps can actually see some form of their commissions in RepCard. So that way they don't have to switch between apps.
Yes.
But also, if you want to be able to track SAT pay, so when someone generates a lead and then gets it to a SAT appointment, that's something that I'm seeing more and more often is incentivizing reps based on the amount of deals that have not necessarily closed but have got to that SAT. That's where you really want to get that information from a company like RepCard. You don't necessarily want to track every single lead in your CRM. And so we're looking at building out that integration too.
Yeah, so
But
for
RepCard does have a really good integration with Pipe, and we have a great integration with Pipe too. So that it's a kind of a threefold with that CRM.
okay, you guys, well, have a great day. Mike, I can't thank you enough for jumping on with us today and educating us all. Like I said, we're just stoked about what Stakt is going to bring to the industry, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks, Jess.
Have a good one, you guys. We'll see you later.